When it comes to the Z6 II, everything we loved about the Z6 has been carried over. We still get that great 24 megapixel full frame sensor that offers true to life colors, great dynamic range, and great low light performance. But we've also combined that with the new additional features that people requested for. And we've added in things like the dual card slots, battery pack capabilities, and a few other menu adjustments and auto-focusing adjustments as well that people requested from the Z6. When it comes to the photography side of things, we have a 24 megapixel full frame sensor. That sensor has now been paired with two X-Speed 6 processors, which means that we see a bump in quite a lot of features of this camera. Things like frames per second are now faster at 14 frames per second. Also, the camera's buffer is much larger, which means we can shoot continuously for much longer periods of time. The faster the camera fires, it means the more frames you're going to be able to capture, which means that especially with moving subjects, horses, wildlife photography, and so on, you have more flexibility to make sure you capture that exact moment that you want in your shot. The Z6 II also has a new implementation of autofocus, so now you no longer have to go into the menu to adjust it from animal or human eye detection. This effectively gives you a smaller area for the camera to look at, which means it can more accurately track eyes in a very specific area of your frame rather than looking at the whole area. The Z6 II also adds dual card slots. You have that first slot, which is a Compact Flash Express or XQD card slot, which we know and love from the Z6 and the Z7, but we now have the addition of an SD card slot. This SD card slot supports UHS 2 cards, and it means that you can then also run a backup when you're shooting stills. So when it comes to the Z6 II and its new video features, we have new frame rates, we have new auto-focusing modes in video as well. So we gain the ability to now use face tracking and eye tracking in video. Eye tracking was one of the things that you could never do when it came to the Z6 and Z7. You only had to rely on face tracking. So for the solo shooter, for the person that's recording themselves in front of camera, it means that you can now more reliably have your eyes in focus across your video when you're moving in and out of the camera itself. Or if you're a camera operator and you're using your Z6 II on a gimbal, that camera can be shooting using face tracking and eye tracking to make sure the subject's eyes are always in focus. If you want the ultimate in terms of quality and control over your video, you also have the option to enable your Z6 II with ProRes RAW shooting when you're recording to an external recorder through the HDMI. You can also record in HLG hybrid log gamma format. One of the biggest requests for the Z6 was the option to use a vertical battery grip that had a shutter button and controls on it. That's obviously been addressed when it comes to the Z6 II. We now have the option of an additional battery grip with a shutter button, AF controls, and hot swappable batteries. One of the biggest features for me is that it can also be USB-C powered, so you can directly power and charge the batteries in the battery grip itself. There's a couple of little features that have been added in the Z6 II when it comes to its menu system. Some things like we now have the extended longer shutter speeds, so we can now shoot up to 900 seconds. When it comes to the Z6, if you turn the camera off, the lens will automatically default back to infinity, so when you turn the camera back on, your point of focus has moved. This can be quite frustrating, especially if you're setting up a particular shot. But in a Z6 II, you can turn this on so that the lens will always hold its focusing position when the camera's turned on or off. This is going to be a feature that's not only beneficial for videographers, but it's also going to be great for photographers, especially if you're shooting in a scenario where you don't want your focusing point to change every single time you turn your camera on or off. The Z6 II is a great camera for low light shooting, not only because it offers great high ISO performance, but also because its low light autofocus has been improved. One little feature that I think that's still worth talking about is that with the Z6 II and also the new Z cameras, you can update the firmware via SnapBridge. This feature means that when there is a new firmware update, it's going to be much easier for you to update your camera to make sure you get the newest and latest features when it comes to the Z6 II.
My name is Marion Peyer. I'm a travel photographer from Austria. For me, photography has been democratized by social media, so it's more accessible for much more people, and I include myself in that because I'm not such a technical person. Travel photography is always a place of passion. People do that because they love traveling, and photography was for me the perfect tool to convey that passion to other people. So with the Nikon mirrorless system, with the Z6 II, I can convey exactly this motion, this natural feeling of a place. And I think this is kind of the art of travel photography, to show a place with its magic, but still keeping it close to reality. You know, as a travel photographer, you always look for something that portrays an emotion and brings people into that area. So it's nice to have a shot of the landscape. It's nice to show Tyrol the way it looks, but it's even nicer to tell a little bit of a story about this region. I've chosen this spot because we're in the mountains. We are at the peak here. We have a beautiful view. The sun is rising above the mountains. And then we have these very iconic horses. They're called Haflinger horses. So during this shoot, we were shooting these horses at sunrise. So that's a moment that passes very quickly. So you only have a limited time frame where you can work with. And as a photographer, you have to capture that one moment that is magic. So it's really essential to have a reliable autofocus in those moments. We got up at 5:45 today to walk up just a little step here behind the hut to catch the sunrise. And there's this huge panorama and sunrise is happening right here in front of me, so cannot get better than that. In natural environments, just like you can see here, you have changing light all the time. So now we have clouds and we have the sunlight. So the EVF allows me to see exactly how the light is changing and how the camera is reacting on it and what I have to change. There's this golden grass, you see, it's already fall. The grass is turning yellow, all these colors shine in the light of the sunrise. With the camera you discover new possibilities with light. And then now you can go to situations that are, you know, after sunset, before sunrise. You can shoot in low light, you can push ISO up to places that a smartphone could never reach. I have my model back there, the hut here, and then I have a really nice boulder coming out there. So I have a cool composition that's framing my model. My gear has to work for me and has to be lightweight, has to be easy to use, and has to also not limit me creatively. In the end, the Z6 II is going to help me enjoy my travels more, it's going to help me be a better travel photographer and also a better traveler. I think both things go hand in hand.
My name is Andrew Barber and I am a street style photographer. My style of photography is more documentary. The main focus is fashion, the way how people dress, with the sole aim of finding ways of inspiring the way how we dress ourselves. My inspiration for today's shoot is the location. Typically when I'm shooting a model or my subject, I always think about the location first and then the outfits and the way how I'm going to shoot. Shooting something different, experimenting with lights, the tones, contrast. Thinking more about the way how I adjust and try new settings on this camera is simply amazing. First thing I look for when I'm capturing that moment is the person's outfit. It has to be an outfit that's going to make me want to capture it. Once I found the outfit that I really want to capture, I'll then follow my subject to somewhere where I can compose the image really, really well.
It's looking amazing, man. I am super happy with this. One thing I love to do is I like to make the most out of the environment itself. So I typically hide behind walls or like structures or maybe trees, and I like to cut some of the image. I'm really happy with this purely because of the fact that I don't like to work in harsh light most of the time. And the fact that I've managed to find somewhere where she's in the shadows, you can't see too much of the outfit. You can see the beautiful earrings that she's wearing, and you can see how the sun's just hitting her face and her arms and the white shoes. So this is perfect for me.
Look at a beautiful smile. There we go, we got it, we got it.
It's nice being able to make that transition from the Z6 to the Z6 II without having to worry about any new settings that will completely throw me off. You should have seen the look on my face when I realized that some of these features had been improved. The dual card slots, being able to turn your camera to the side and shoot portrait. The fact that you can now shoot 14 frames per second, similar to the D6. I think it's going to make a dramatic difference because of the fact that when I shoot street style and backstage, fashion is fast. So I always needed a fast camera whenever I was shooting on the streets. Some people think that shooting street style is just a case of picking up a camera and shooting one person just like that. There's so much you need to think about when you're shooting street style photography. You have to think about your camera settings, what shutter speed you might use, the ISO. You also need to think about your overall composition and the environment that you're shooting in and what you want to be seen. Once I've got that definitive shot, the shot that makes me jump up and be like, yes, I've got it. It's the best feeling ever.
My name is François Laboureux, I'm from southwest of France and I'm a videographer. When I make videos, I try to make them the most dynamic possible. What I'm really interested in is capturing the emotions and having people the most natural possible too. I had always thought how great it would be to shoot a wedding video at the Dune du Pilat. That's Europe's highest sand dune. Wedding video is one of the most difficult things because you cannot redo something. You have to get the perfect shot at the perfect moment and you only have one chance. And since I have only one shot, I have to be really, really confident in my gear. The most important thing in a wedding film is to capture the emotion. So you're gonna find that emotion and use the tool that fits the most to get that emotion. So because we have small cameras, we can be practically invisible. Sometimes I don't have a precise idea of what I'm gonna do, so I try things, and you have to adapt to the personality of the couple, because if they are a very expressive couple, then you know you're gonna have to shoot more dynamically. While I'm moving fast, I need to rely on the autofocus. You have IBIS to make the shot smooth, and then you can use slow-mo to make it even smoother. I use ProRes RAW for big projects and some high-quality projects. This is a codec that is really flexible. When the light conditions are not great, you can still have something really, really, really great, really beautiful. And for color grading, it's such a pleasure. You can do whatever you want. And also, something I love about the Z6 II is the double slot, SD and XQD. I think that's something that's really important, especially for weddings. It's really important that the couple trust us. When they see the film, usually they cry. And when they cry, we know that we've done good work. And that's what we look for, to be moved and touched by what they saw. And there's something magical about the memories you get in that film.
I'm Rademski, and I'm an action and adventure photographer. We're here in the mountains of Tyrol, Austria, and I've been shooting some trail running over the last couple days. Part of our running has been on ridges at over 3,000 meters, and we've done the rest down here in the valley. With my photography, I like to be right there in the action, to feel what the athletes are feeling, and to catch that perfect moment. So as much as I can minimize on my camera system, the better off I am. So having a Z6 II in my bag with lightweight lenses reduces that little bit of weight that I can go a little bit faster.
Okay guys, let's go! For me, a camera is a tool, so I have to completely rely on it and trust it in any conditions. And when it's blowing hard snow or there's mud flying around, I don't want to be thinking about the camera or worrying about it getting wet.
A great action shot for me starts with that first pull, you know? I like to be right there inside the action and really feel the moment and the emotions that the athlete brings to it. I want the details to be perfect, and I don't want to think about my camera, I don't want to think about the system. The Z6 II and the Z series lenses really helps me get that shot. I'm used to fast cameras, and it's really nice to transition to the Z6 II and have 14 frames per second. It gives me the option to fire off a burst and really capture that moment of peak action.
For me, when
Yes.
there's really a time pressure and the light is just fading away and you have those few minutes to capture the shot, it's so important to have a familiar camera. And I just love that. The Z6 II, I got it in my hands, put it up to my eye, and everything was right there where I know it should be. Cool. Light to me is super important to make a good image. And in the outdoors, it's all about finding locations, knowing where the sun will be. I want to create depth and contrast in my image, to see the layers and to see the details. Yesterday I checked out the ridgeline and it looked amazing, and I thought, well, the sun's going to come up right over there, and if I can get somebody running on this ridge, it's going to be incredible. Performed beautifully, and we got these amazing silhouette shots with a runner, with the headlamp on. Yeah, just beautiful. The perfect shot is always a combination of a couple factors. Light, super important, and then the location is always the base of the shot. And the action, that just makes the shot.